Everybody, it's Pastor Matthew Best from St. Stephen Lutheran Church. I wanted to just take a moment. It's Epiphany today. So it's the visit of the Magi, the wise men, however you want to call them. January 6th happens every year. And I wanted to do a quick reading of the story and then offer just a short reflection on the reading. So our reading is from Matthew 2, 1-12, and it goes like this. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, asking, "Where is the child who was born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him, and calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet, and you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word so that I may go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen in its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. Then they saw that the star had stopped, and they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then opening his treasure chest, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country on another road. This is the gospel. So a couple of things about this, short reflection on this. Epiphany. What does Epiphany mean, right? So you've got a couple of definitions. It's a feast day in the Christian church about the manifestation, big word, on the divine nature of Jesus, right? It's told every year on January 6th. There are, especially in the eastern parts of Christianity, this is the day celebrated as Christmas, because guess what? The Magi are bringing presents. So if you have any friends who are Russian Orthodox or some kind of Eastern Orthodox faith, a lot of them will be celebrating today as Christmas, because this is the day in which gifts are given, in which it is proclaimed who Jesus really is, right? Another definition of Epiphany is a revelatory manifestation of a divine being. Big words, right? Again, who is this? It's an epiphany. It's a declaration of who somebody is, right? You're going to have a little bit of this also on Sunday when we celebrate the baptism of Jesus. It's a declaration of who Jesus is. And the third definition of Epiphany is a sudden insight or intuitive understanding, which is a little more general in nature. You have a theological definition and a bit of a more general definition. And so when I think about that, I think about this story, and what do I see? A lot of this story has to do with Herod, not with Jesus. Of course, it has to do with Jesus. It's the gospel of Jesus, right? But a lot of this story, this passage of scripture, the visit of the wise men, Herod is one of the key characters in this story. And I think that's really important, because we focus so much on the wise men. We focus on baby Jesus and all this, and we don't like to talk about Herod. He's a bad guy. Pretty universally thought about as he's a bad guy. History shows that he has a title, Herod the Great. So is he a bad guy or not? Good question. Depends on your perspective. Depends on what's been revealed to you. Epiphany, right? Herod is a key figure in this story. What's so fascinating is what we have really is a contrast of two kings. They're both baby kings, if you want to think about it this way. We've got baby Jesus, and then we've got a man-child, Herod, who is a complete and utter narcissist. Why do I say that? Really simple, because narcissism leads to death and destruction. It always does, right? And so when you take a look at the passage immediately following the visit from the Magi, you end up with this. This is from Matthew 2, starting at verse 13. When they had gone, the wise men, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in the dream. Get up, he said, take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt, staying there until I tell you, for Herod is going to search for the child and kill him. So he got up, took the child from his mother during the night, and left for Egypt, where he stayed until the death of Herod. And so was fulfilled what the Lord had said through the prophet, out of Egypt I called my son. When Herod realized that he had been outwitted by the Magi, really outwitted. Anyway, he was furious, and he gave orders to kill all the boys of Bethlehem and its vicinity, who were 2 years old and under, in accordance with the time he had learned from the Magi. And then it goes on to talk about the voice of Ramah weeping and great mourning and all of those type of things. So Herod is a narcissist. Make no mistake about it. A baby king versus the king, Jesus, who happens to be a baby in this story, right? Herod is a major character in this story. We cannot dismiss that at all. It is because of Herod's fear, it is because of Herod's actions that it proclaims who Jesus is. Herod knows that Jesus is a threat to his power because he is fulfillment of the prophecy. And Herod, who wants to kill that prophecy, who wants to kill the child, is in fact proclaiming who Jesus is. The exact opposite of what he wants to have happen. By his very actions of what he's doing, proclaim and showcase exactly who Jesus is. That Jesus is a threat to Herod's power. Let that sink in. Jesus is a threat to unjust systems, to destructive systems. Jesus is a threat to people seeking power for the sake of seeking power, which is what Herod is all about. Jesus is a threat to those who want to maintain fear. Why do I say that? Verse 3, when King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him, because narcissists cause fear for everybody else. And so there are systems in place, right? Jesus is a threat to all these things. Not just a threat, but they know that they will end because of Jesus. Even Jesus as a baby who is helpless. By definition, a child is helpless. And yet the mere presence of Jesus as a helpless child puts all of everything that they have in place at risk. And it will end. That's what this Epiphany is about. Epiphany is about ending not just a threat, but actually ending through means that seem the complete opposite to try to shut down what God is all about. All they really do is they just emphasize who Jesus is. That's one way of looking at Epiphany. And I think it means a lot. I'm taking that in our day and our time, that Jesus is a threat. Jesus is a threat, a godly threat to systems that do not last, that will not last, that cannot last, that will put up a stink, that will cause death and destruction and all sorts of terrible things, and yet they will not succeed. They never succeed. Only God, only Jesus, who is eternal, will last. And that is what our faith is in. Our faith is in no King Herod. Our faith is not in military might. Our faith is not in systems of fear. Our faith is not in any of those things, because those things will end, and probably mercilessly, as they should. But our faith is in Jesus. Our salvation is in Jesus. And even Jesus as a small, innocent, helpless child is more powerful than somebody who has all of the might and all of the power and the titles and the riches and the military might and everything else. That will end, because as we heard later on, Herod dies too, and with it, all the things that go with him. And the Roman Empire ends as well, and everything that goes with it. And you know who's still around? Jesus. That's what we have our faith in. So I wish you a blessed, 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 blessed Epiphany. No matter what happens, no matter what's going on, our faith is in Jesus. Anything else will end. Anything that's destructive, oriented towards death, will end. Jesus will not. Blessings to you.